Today I will explain you about Java button event handling concepts in AWT using Visual Studio Code. So first I will explain some theoretical part of action event which is binded with the button in Java. Then later on I will show the demonstration of how to work with this action event with the button component in Java. So we have an action event class. Now an action event is generated when a button is pressed, or a list item is double clicked, or a menu item is selected. So already the types of events or the event handling in Java I have clearly explained in my previous video. You can just see that video for further information about event handling. So in continuation with that, when you click a button, an action event is generated, or when you select a list item that is double clicked a list item, then also action event is generated, or you select a menu item, then also the action event is generated. Now the action event class defines 4 integer constants that can be used to identify any modifiers associated with an action event. If you press Alt, we have a constant called Alt underscore mask. For control key, you have control underscore mask. For Windows key, we named it as meta underscore mask. And for shift key, we have a shift underscore mask. So if you are trying to work with this control keys, that is the alternative keys also, still we can work. Now in addition, there is an integer constant called action performed, which basically used to identify the action events. So what sort of action events are been available? Like it is double clicking a list item, or it is selecting a menu item, or it's clicking a button. We need to identify. So that has been identified by using action performed constant. Now sources may generate more than one type of event. So here the source is a button or a checkbox or a radio button. So some sort of components can generate more than one type of event. Now we have 3 constructors for this class, action event class. Now we have the first constructor with 3 parameters. One is the object source, then int type and string command. Now if you see, the source is a reference to the object that generated this event. So that would be a button or some other component list item, or it could be a menu item. So that reference you need to write here. The second one says that the type of the event is specified by type parameter. So this is nothing but the ID of the event, which is used to identify the event type. And the third one, its command string is CMD. So here you are going to bind some text to that particular event. So later on, I can retrieve this particular string by using a method called getAction command. So this string is user defined. You can give any string which has been required for your application. Now coming to second constructor, we have the same 3 parameters, first 3 parameters, but followed by the modifiers. Now coming to the modifiers, the modifier indicates that which modifier keys like Alt, Control, Meta, and or Shift were pressed when the event was generated. So these are all the constants. So if you are using Meta or Control, Alt, those identifiers you need to write. Just now we have seen the previous slide, Alt underscore mask, Meta underscore mask. So those things you need to write here. Then coming to the third constructor, first, second, third, and the fifth one are same, but here we have the additional one called long when. Now the when parameter specifies when the event has occurred. So here it is a timestamp where date and time combination will be there. When that event is occurred, you need to specify. So that's why the data type is long. So these are the 3 constructors what you need to use when you go for the action event class. Now what are the methods applicable for the action event? So here we have something called getAction command. Now this method is used to obtain the command name for the invoking action event object. So just now we have seen the constructors. The third parameter is string command. So whatever the string you specify, the third parameter can be retrieved by using command called getAction command, which returns a string. Similarly, if you want to set a new string later on the program, you can apply set action command also. Now, if you want to extend the modifiers what you have been set in the action event constructor, you can apply a get modifiers method, which returns a value that indicates which modifier keys like Alt, Control, Meta, and Shift were pressed when the event was generated. So the syntax is get modifiers, which returns an integer constant. Now, if you want to extend the time when that event has occurred, we can go for getWhen method. The method getWhen returns the time at which the event took place. This is called the event's timestamp, where date and time combination will be there. So here, by using getWhen method, it will return the long type value. So these are few methods. Now coming to the listener. So in the previous video, I clearly specified the listener's concept also. You can just go through for a clarification. So for action event, there is a listener, because when you go for event handling, we have the events along with we do have the listeners also. Whenever an event is generated by a component, that should be notified to the listener, so that the listener will be implementing the abstract methods which are available inside that, so that some action to be performed. So here the action event was generated, then obviously I need to give the information to the action listener. In that, now the action listener is what? Interface, which defines a method called action performed method that is invoked when an action event occurs. So this listener interface is holding one abstract method called action performed. So whenever the event is generated, that information is given to the listener. So as a for example, action event is generated when a button is pressed. That information is given to the action listener. Action listener is holding a method called action performed. This method should be implemented. Inside this method only we write the actual action to be performed is invoked when any action event is occurring. So here the syntax is void action performed, and it is going to handle action event. I will show you the demonstration of a Java button which works with event handling application in AWT using Visual Studio Code environment. So this is a Visual Studio Code environment where I've already have a program here. So we'll see what is a program for and how it works. Now here the first line, we're importing AWT package where we can use some components like button and graphics class. Then we have event, because I need to go for event handling. So all event related class interfaces like action event, action listener are available under this particular package called java.aw.event. And here I am using applets. So I need to use an applet class. So and the applet lifecycle methods of applet class. So I need to use java.aw.stuff. Now this is a comment where I need to provide the applet tag information by using applet tag. Then code is the class name, the button demo, then width and height of the applet window, then close that, because this comment will be only executed at runtime by the applet viewer. So the same class name you need to give, and don't give any extension, either it is .java.class. If you don't give any extension, it implies it's a class. Now coming to the class, public class, the class name button demo extends the class called applet, which is available in this package, and it need to implement a listener called action listener. As I said, the listeners are interfaces, so action listener is an interface, so your class need to implement action listener. Now coming to the next one, I've taken an empty message which is a string type, and I've taken three reference variables of button. You can see here, one is yes, one is no, and maybe. There are three reference variables of button class. So in order to create a button, I have a class called button class in AWT. Then the init method, I'm creating three objects. You can see this. S, because already we have used S here, I need not again write button here because already defined. S is initialized with a new button, that is object creation. And on the button, you will get a value called S here, because I'm writing in double quotes yes. Second button will be with no. Third button will be with undecided. Now I'm adding these three buttons to the applet window by using add method. You can see add of S object, add of no object, and add of maybe object. Now these three buttons, whenever you are going to click, it is going to generate action event. So action listeners need to register themselves at the source side, that is the button. So every button I need to register the action listener. So the object dot, that is first object dot add action listener is a method for registering the listener, and we write this keyword. That means this action listener is been binded with this particular object, because this keyword is represent the current object. So this action listener which is binded with only for this object. Similarly, I need to bind for the second object called no dot add action listener of this. Third one also is a button. For that also I need to so 3 buttons we're registering separately 3 action listeners, because every button is raising an action event. So we need to give to the action listener. So all 3 need to have the registration of the action listeners. Now this is being put into the init method. Now when you click a particular button, the action event is generated, then action listener is going to be invoked, and its abstract method is this one, action performed. This one will be invoked automatically, and here we can see clearly they have mentioned that they are handling action event. Now this line, if you can see, here we are writing action event reference dot get action command. When you type, when you just, let's suppose I'm clicking a button called S, first button I'm clicking, then you can see its label can be extracted. This one can be extracted by using get action command method. Okay, if you click second one, no, then this particular value can be extracted by using get action command. If you click third button, this value can be extracted by using get action command. So here you can see you are clicking up, let's suppose I click a first button, yes, then here this particular method is going to retrieve yes word, and it's going to store in a string. Now here the condition says that if the button whatever you clicked and whatever the text you have got here by using get action command, if that str dot equals yes, then you need to store a message called you press s in this message variable, because already we have defined the message here which is string, and I'm utilizing that message string variable here. Else if this str dot equals no, that means you might have pressed the second button called no, then this str is going to store no. If that is equal to no, then your message will be you press no. If you press the third one, you're going to get you pressed undecided. And after that, you're calling repaint. Repaint method is going to call internally paint method. In the paint method, I need to use a method called drawString, and the drawString is called with the help of the graphics object. Now here we can see the graphics is a parameter for the paint method, and by using this graphics reference variable, I need to call it drawString method. And whatever the message you have stored, let's suppose first button you click, then you get a message like you pressed yes. Second button you click, you get you press no. Third button you clicked, you get you press undecided. Now that has been printed in 6,100 XY coordinate intersection point. So this is how you are going to develop the event handling mechanism through the button component. And now we'll see the execution part. So just save that. Once you type, you need to save, and you just click this run command. Okay. Just save it. Okay. Don't go for this run command because it's an Abstract window. I need to go for, because we don't have main method, right? So I need to go for a terminal. Just go for new terminal, and here go to the respective folder. So I have saved in a subfolder here. So Java VS23 I have saved. So just compile Java C button demo .java. Then you go for applet viewer button demo .java again. When you type this button applet viewer, it is going to read this one. The present. Now you can see these 3 buttons you can see here. Three buttons can maximize. Now if I click this first button yes, then no and undecided. If I click yes here, then you can see a message you pressed S. Now this is X coordinates 6 and Y coordinates. The other value what you have mentioned is 100. Okay, so this is 100, this is 6. If I just observe this value, if I click second button no, you get you pressed no. If I click third button undecided, you get you pressed undecided. So in this way, you can just work out with the event handling mechanism in AWT for the Java button, which is going to generate an action event. Now in this way you need to work out, and I hope I have given some input on the event handling through buttons. So if you like this video, please subscribe and share it to your friends. Thank you.